Welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. In an effort to reduce panhandling in Sioux Falls, the city rolled out a new campaign. And now, 3 months later, officials say it appears to be making a difference. Carly Phillips reports.
The signs read, "Cash handouts don't help, but you can." And since putting them up earlier this year, the city says it's seen a noticeable decrease in panhandling, especially in downtown Sioux Falls.
Some of it more specifically down on Phillips Avenue. You'll see quite a bit of it on the 10th and Phillips corners, and then on down up to 12th and Phillips.
It's part of a $150,000 campaign to encourage people to donate to nonprofits, like the St. Francis House, rather than giving money to panhandlers directly.
And the thing that we noticed the most was once the signs went up, then we saw less people hanging out at the various intersections.
We even drove around to some of the areas like this one where city leaders have said they've seen a large panhandler presence in the past, but today no one was here. According to nonprofits, it's improved safety too.
In addition, we aren't having to clean up as much of the disgusting garbage that is left from human waste.
As to where panhandlers are going, the city says outreach teams have been involved in guiding people toward resources.
But we also have several of our teams that are getting out and targeting some of the individuals that have really been struggling in that area, and they thankfully are on a really cool path to recovery right now.
The city says it's still finding areas where panhandling is a concern, but it's looking to continue to address the issue.
And Carly Phillips joins us now at the digital desk to talk a little bit more about this story. Carly, to start, when you were putting this story together, was there anything that stood out to you as you were putting it all together?
I think the big thing is when we were actually going around to look for panhandlers to get video of is that there were no panhandlers that we could find. And so instantly I kind of knew that that was going to be a big part of the story. And I think it was really important to actually get that stand up in there to really tell the story that, you know, these efforts appear to be making a difference that the city is doing.
Yeah. Could you just pull up your mic a little bit closer to you? And then another question I had for you is because you're talking about, you know, that stand up that you included in your story, that stood out to me. And I wanted to ask you, you know, as you were explaining, you were on one of the busiest blocks on Phillips Avenue saying, like, we're not seeing anything. Why did you include that feature for your story?
Well, I think that's really what the story was about, you know, that the city says that this is making a difference. And so as a viewer, you want to, you know, kind of see the proof of that. And so to really be able to show that, I think was important to tell the story.
Yeah. And was there anything you learned from talking to your two interviewees that didn't make it into the story, but you think are still important for our viewers to know?
I think when I was talking with Julie at the St. Francis House, she mentioned that a lot of the guests walk to work and things like that. And so not having as many panhandlers out has really made a difference in their safety, and they're not having to worry about that either.
And we're going from 3 months ago when this campaign launched to now and really seeing that difference. What was the impact you wanted viewers to take away from your story?
I think just to see how much of a change can happen within just, you know, 3 months is not really that long of a time. And for it to already be making this much of a difference, I think is really interesting. And I think people would want to learn about that.
Well, great story, Carly, and thank you for joining me at the digital desk. And stick around, viewers, because up next on Inside the Newsroom, we are looking at a Sioux Falls City Council decision to tear down a former DSS building. We'll hear more from our digital reporter next on Inside the Newsroom. Welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. The Sioux Falls City Council approved a plan to tear down the old Department of Social Services building. And our digital reporter, Jacob Newton, joins us now at the digital desk to talk about this story that he's created. Jacob, I want to start by asking, back in September, the council was told that the building wouldn't be razed. But what changed, and what did you hear during this meeting?
Yeah, so as you said, back last year, they were told by the city that the building will not be torn down without a plan put in place to decide what to do with the property. Now, however, at this last meeting, this item to raise the building was placed on the consent calendar. It was removed at the very start of the meeting, and then City Finance Director Sean Pritchett kind of gave the pitch on it. And he started off apologizing to the council because he said there was no wiggle room really with what was told. That they did say we will not tear it down, but he said since then a city team had gone into the building, inspected it to decide, is there use for this building as it stands by the city. They said due to the poor state of the building and the costs associated with fixing it up, there was no present use for it, and it would be a security risk to keep it standing as they move forward with the project.
So just so I'm understanding correctly, they didn't want to raise it. They wanted to have a new plan for the building, but after an inspection, they just decided there wasn't anything to be saved.
Yeah, they'd said, maybe we can use it as it is, or if not, we will come up with an idea on how to use the property if we tear it down before we tear it down. They said even though they don't have a plan in place, they now do think the best thing for the city is to tear the building down.
So what did they find during their inspections that just made this building unsafe?
So the building is very old. It used to be a Sears location here in Sioux Falls before it was home to the Department of Social Services. So due to that, it is just an old building. There's, problems with the structure itself. And they said that since it's been sitting empty too, they have had increased issues of people breaking in. If we look at these pictures, you can see some broken glass on the ground, trash all around. They say that they've received, I think, 21 calls since May 1st, since the building has been vacant for, issues with the building, with people accessing the building, really just increased calls to service at the location.
And so because they're going to be tearing it down, is there any plans to develop something new then?
So the city does have plans for Riverline District, although that is still early in the planning phases. And this would be a kind of development area that would run from the viaduct there at 10th Street along the river all the way up 10th to Cliff. So this would include Drake Springs and the skate park. Talk has been made of potentially having a convention center there. And so this land at some point will be developed according to the city's plan. But at this point, they don't know exactly what that will look like.
They got to get rid of the building first. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you want our viewers to know or really shine with about this story?
Well, there was some opposition during the public input period. There were a lot of people upset that the building was being torn out in the first place, thinking, this should be used as a building for the community, whether that's as a homeless shelter, as some sort of other service, or also just kind of concerned that it is being torn down when they said it wouldn't, and money is going towards it without a plan in place. But the city, again, kind of reiterated that they feel like it is a safety risk and a kind of a money pit in terms of maintaining the building as they move forward.
And Jacob, now that we're at the end of this segment, is there any story that you're working on tonight for our evening newscasts?
Yeah, I'm taking a look at changes to mail services at Lewis Drug and Hy-Vee locations in and around Sioux Falls due to an end with a federal contracts from the USPS.
And then also you have your 4-part series being released this entire week about a former compound on the west side of the state. What is the new part going to be talking about today? Yeah,
so part 3 is out today, and this part is looking really into some of the backgrounds of the groups that have been currently in the compound. So this includes kind of a background on polygamy in the United States and modern Mormon fundamentalism. And tomorrow we'll be publishing the last part, and that will be kind of in-depth reporting on 2 former members who agreed to speak with Kettleland, sharing their own experiences with the group, The Order, that is currently at home on the compound.
Well, thank you for giving us those details, Jacob. And if you would like to read that story, just scan the QR code that you see on your screen right now to take you to Kettleland.com. And stick around for Inside the Newsroom, because up next, we are talking about a master plan that will be going into effect for our zoo here in Sioux Falls. Our digital reporter will join us at the desk next after the break. Welcome back to Inside the Newsroom. The Sioux Falls City Council approved a $200 million master plan for our Sioux Falls Zoo and Aquarium. Our digital reporter Michael Dorn joins us now to talk about this master plan. What a term, Michael. That's their term, right? They're calling it the master plan?
Yep, that is I think it is the Sioux Falls Zoo and Aquarium Master Plan is the official title for this. So.
Wow. So what is this master plan?
Yeah, so this basically just details what the couple projects that they have coming up, kind of detailing what they want the zoo to look like in the next 15 to 20 years here. So just kind of really outlining the projects they have planned, some of the things they want to add to the zoo, just really outlining that and giving a grand picture of what their plan is for fundraising as well as what these new additions will be.
And so what kind of need did the zoo see that kind of brought this master plan forward for the city council? What did you hear?
Yeah, well, I think the main thing about that is it's just the zoo is already a pretty big economic impact driver for the city, and they just want to make it even more so. They want to raise those numbers of attendees. I think right now they said they're around 370,000 people on average coming to the zoo. They want to get that to around 450,000, if not 500,000 people coming to the zoo.
Wow.
So just having more people, having more things to do, just really expanding here.
Yeah, that's kind of the big takeaway I got from your story is just this overall expansion. So what's going to come first for this master plan?
Yeah, so they're kind of breaking it up into phases here. We don't have much details on the later phases, but this first phase here is just a complete overall of this main zoo housing, this main office area here, which is going to kind of totally reform that. It's going to have a butterfly garden. It's going to have an aquarium. It will have 3 classrooms as well as an animal ambassador area, as well as that's where all the administrative offices will be. So quite a bit is going into this one building here already, and that's just phase 1 here of this master plan.
Yeah, and this is a diagram included in your story of the big zoo expansion. And as you were talking to the CEO of the Sioux Falls Zoo and Aquarium, Becky, what was she saying about economic impacts of the zoo and how this expansion and master plan will help that?
Yeah, I believe she said, they're hoping, they're hoping to kind of get that up more and more here. I think you see right there, she said, we want more attendance. We need more people coming into the zoo, kind of make it a hub for people. As long as you have more people coming into the zoo and you have a bigger area for them to stay, they're going to stay longer. So kinds of turns it into a day trip, which then spreads out into other areas of the community. So they might go downtown. They might go see any other of the other amenities here. So definitely a pretty big driver for that here. And I believe it's $500 million that they're kind of looking to bring in economic impact here.
Wow. Lots of jobs that will be created too from something like that.
Yep.
Is there anything else that you heard from your conversation with Becky that kind of stood out to you that you think our viewers should know?
Yeah, I think just one thing. I think people hear that $200 million number and it's just like, oh, whoa. That's a large amount of money. And people might think it's either the zoo or the city spending on it all, and it's not really the case with that. It's a public-private partnership here, so the city is giving definitely some money to these projects here, but most of this will come from fundraising or outside sources or wherever that money will come from here, but it definitely mostly come from either fundraising.
That's a great point. And that is something that's outlined in your article as you showed all those Venn diagrams. Is there anything else that you think you'd like your or our viewers to know about the story?
Yeah, I'll just kind of break down the timeline here.
Yeah.
So I think what's important here is right now we're definitely a little ways away from a lot of these projects here. I think a lot of them are still in the design and fundraising phase here. So I know the one big one I think coming up the soonest here is that aquarium coming to the zoo's main campus here, which I believe they are currently have had fundraising for already. So I believe that's going to finish up here in 2027 here. So we're definitely a little bit of ways away here, but they definitely just kind of shared this plan to show their vision here for the zoo and a lot of these new projects that they got going. They definitely are are looking for it. They have 40 acres, and they are definitely planning on overhauling most of it.
Yeah, using it up. I
So,
love it.
Yeah, they talked about expanding a lot of exhibits as well, with giraffes and tigers exhibits being expanded there, and as well as the potential for kind of having a new cafe in there as well. So they definitely have been talking about this for a bit, and this is just kind of the vision that they have put forth for the next 10 to 20 years of the zoo.
Wow. Michael, thank you so much for sharing these details. And viewers, you could read Michael's story online. It's posted on KELLERLAND.com. Just scan that QR code that you see on your screen. And that's all the time that we have today for Inside the Newsroom. Thank you so much for joining us, and stick around, because up next on KELLERLAND Plus, we have our weather show, Weather or Not. Let's see what meteorologist Scott Munt's going to be talking about today. Until next time, have a great day, everyone.